Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just going to give it another minute to see if anyone else wants to join. Thank you. Okay, it sounds like beeps are slowing down. If you're not already muted, would you mind muting yourself so we don't get any feedback? Are we all set with sharing our screen, Brandy?
Would you like me to share the PowerPoint?
Yes, that'd be great. So while we're doing that, I want to welcome. Can everybody just mute yourselves, please? Like maybe I can try to mute everybody else. Great, thank you. I want to welcome you to the Bidders Conference for our request for proposals for the Flexible Spending Account Administration. We are pleased with your interest and want to make sure that all your questions are answered. I'm Caroline Melkonian from the Employee Benefits Management Unit at GOER. And the first thing I would like to do is take some attendance. So I'm going to just run through in no particular order some of the organizations who are here today. I have a list of some folks, so I'll call your name. And if there's anyone else from that organization, please let me know. So from Navia Benefit Solutions, I have Jarab Sarbandi. Is there anyone here from Navia? Okay. From Aetna, is anyone here from Aetna?
Yes, Javier's on, and that should read PayFlex. We're a subsidiary of Aetna.
Very good. We'll make that note. Thank you.
And then Julia Laws is as well with us here from PayFlex as well.
Okay. Could you spell her last name, please?
Laws, L-A-W-S.
And from Wex Health?
Catherine Weber. We also have Donna Armstrong, Chris Brining, John Sweeney, and Samantha Brown.
From Total Administrative Services Corporation?
Yes, we're here. We also have, this is Derek Daniel. We also have Mark Clear and Ed Gamboa.
Very good. Thank you. One Bridge Benefits?
Hey, Carolyn, this is Edmundo Gamboa from TASC, Total Administrative Services Corporation. There's
Hi.
one more individual from our team that's here, Joseph Lassay, as well.
Could you spell the last name, please?
It's L-A-S-E-E.
Great.
C.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah, hi, Carolyn. It's going back to OneBridge. It's Bob Judah.
Oh, good. Hi, Bob. Anyone else from OneBridge?
Just me today. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
ASI Flex?
Yes, Jess Spencer. You also have John Rudick, Connie Benson.
Okay, just the two of you?
That was 3.
I'm sorry, then you cut out a little bit. So it's Anita Spencer,
John
Connie West.
and Connie Benson.
Okay, all right, thank you. Welcome. Health Equity,
Yes, David Hanley, Ed Taffet, Jenny Chin, and Monica Mendez.
okay, great, thank you, welcome. Sentinel Benefits and Financial Group,
Hi, yes, Joni Worrell.
okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Just me.
Okay. MetLife National Accounts,
Yes, Kevin Sweeney and also Lori Hewitt.
could you spell the last name? It was hard to hear.
Sure. Lori's last name is Hewitt.
Okay, thank you, welcome. P&A Administrative Services,
Hi, Anna Gosson here.
great, thanks, hi. RT Consulting, I see Chris Carini, I see you in my list. Anyone else from RT Consulting?
Just Chris and Megan.
And Megan? Megan, what's your last name?
Yes, it's O'Brien, Obrien.
Great, thank you, welcome. I'm gonna go back to Navia Benefit Solutions. Is anyone here from Navia? Okay. Is there anyone else who who didn't identify themselves?
Carolyn and Javier, I just wanted to add in, I may have two other counterparts, Mark Henson and Jim Rigdon join. They're coming over from another meeting now, so.
Okay, fantastic, welcome. Okay, well, welcome
Hi.
everybody. Oh,
And Carolyn, Joseph Rabuco from Health Equity is also on the call.
okay, very good.
Thank you.
Great. So do I have everyone now? Sounds like it. Great. So I've already introduced myself. I'd like to introduce some other folks who are here. From GOER, we have our program managers, Lisa Todd and Casey Courier. We also have our program associates, Jaleesa Morehouse and Andrew Bray. From GOER's Division for Administration, we have Don LaPointe, our Administrative Officer, and Brandy Snyder, who is our Contract Management Specialist. And as we said in our RFP, you'll see that we work closely with the unions on all the benefits, health benefits, and these benefits for state employees. We have with us today some of our union partners. We have Don Dugan and Jim Carroll from the Civil Service Employees Association. Are you two here?
Hi, Caroline. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And I think Dawn's here too. I see her. And we also have Elizabeth Huff from United University Professions. Hi, Elizabeth. Okay, well, I think she's here.
There we go. Yes, I just got unmuted. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi,
welcome. Everybody.
Welcome. So what we're going to do today is we've taken all your questions, and as you know, there were quite a few, and we've organized them by topic so we can have a more organized conversation with you today. If you want, you can ask questions at any time. You can ask questions as we get to the question. You can ask at the end of the particular topic. And then at the end of the meeting, we'll also open up the floor for any additional questions you might have. Okay. All right. So now we'll start with section 2.2.4, and I'll turn this over to Casey. Our first question here is, would it be possible to provide an estimate of the number of Spanish-speaking employees currently enrolled?
Hi, Caroline, and that information is not available.
Okay. Number two, would you be able to share the historical call volume for Spanish language calls?
That information is also not available.
Is there a requirement to have Spanish-speaking customer service reps available, or would an interpretation service available during service calls be acceptable?
The vendor must ensure that Spanish-speaking employees have access to Spanish-speaking customer service representatives.
Any further questions? Okay, let's move to the next slide then. Give us a moment as we switch. Great. Let's go to section 2.4, enrollment. Please describe your current enrollment process for the Healthcare Spending Account, Dependent Care Advantage Account, and Adoption Advantage accounts. Include in your response, please identify if enrollment from these products is separate from the remainder of the state's benefits and insurance offerings. For example, medical, dental, life, etc. Lisa?
Hello. First of all, the current process that we use for enrollment is very, very similar to what is described in section 2.4, the RFP. Currently, the customized enrollment system takes on a weekly basis eligibility data from OSC and the manual agencies, that's called the NPay 571 file, and imports it into that system. Then during either the annual open enrollment period or during the plan year, employees can either enroll during open enrollment or during the plan year if they experience a qualifying change in status event. When they submit their applications, the enrollment system uses the eligibility data that is provided on the files to determine if the employees, number one, are eligible to enroll in their respective benefits and if they are entitled to a DCAA employer contribution. After the application is approved through the enrollment system, the data that is collected in the application, the online application, is then imported by the FSA administrator into its account or administration portal. The enrollment information is used to create each participant's account, whether it's DCA, HCSA, or both, including their coverage and their deduction information. And then that information is used to be exported into a file to OSC and the manual agencies. And those files are described in section 2.5 of the RFP. So the files are sent every week and are used to either start, stop, or change payroll deductions based on the application that is submitted online. Now, you should note that the current Adoption Advantage account process is different. It is currently using a paper enrollment form, but under the RFP requirements, that component would need to become an online process as well, just as it currently is for the HCSA and DCAA programs. In addition, the question asks if the rest of the state's benefits or insurance offerings are separate or combined. And the answer is that the FSA program is a standalone program. It does not have any interaction with other state systems or other benefit programs, and enrollment is separate and apart from any other benefits that the state offers to state employees.
Just going to pause for a moment here and see if anyone has any questions on this particular item. Okay. All right. I'll move on then. Number 2, in your current environment, what is the jump off point for employees to enroll in their benefits?
Currently, eligible employees enroll during the annual open enrollment period or during the plan year if they experience a qualifying change in status event. Employees enroll in the benefit directly with the FSA administrator.
Okay. And what is the current enrollment system of record for the HCSA, DCAA, and Adoption Advantage accounts?
Well, as I stated earlier, the current FSA administrator provides the customized enrollment system for the state of New York, customized to our specifications, and it is done through a subcontractor of the FSA administrator.
And what payroll systems will the enrollment platform interface with?
The enrollment system does not directly interface with payroll systems. The selected contractor should propose a system to manage employee enrollments as described in section 2.4. The selected contractor will then be responsible for using the enrollment data to generate the files required by OSC as described in section 2.5.
I've lost my, I think we're on question 5. Let's see. Please confirm that the requested go live date for the enrollment system is 10/1/22.
That is correct. The system needs to be final and approved by GOER by October 1st, 2022 to go live the very first week of November 2022 for the 2023 open enrollment process.
And what is the current enrollment under the Adoption Advantage program?
Currently, we have 2 employees enrolled in the Adoption Advantage FSA.
And please describe the types, like benefit fairs, in-person meetings, webinars, etc., of open enrollment events that you've conducted in the past. Are you able to outline the, sorry, I'm lost here. Are you able to outline the locations, dates, times, past attendance numbers, etc.? How is open enrollment education handled in 2020, and how will it be done for 2021?
In the recent past, except for 2020, GOER staff attended agency benefit fairs and also union conventions when they were held in nearby locations. During 2020, GOER staff attended webinars and provided agency staff with an educational video. These events occurred statewide during the fall. For 2021 plan year, or for 2021, we have not determined how we will attend meetings or agency fairs, but assume there would be some combination of what we have done in the past.
Great. Can you please provide the number of participants enrolled in both the HCSA and the DCAA?
There are currently about 2,315 employees enrolled in both the HCSA and DCAA. Bidders, please note that current enrollment is below average.
And what is the number of participants who elect all benefits, the healthcare spending account, dependent care advantage account, and the adoption advantage account?
Currently, there are no participants who are enrolled in all 3 benefits. However, as we just mentioned, there are 2,315 employees that are enrolled in both the HCSA and the DCAA at the same time. There is 1 employee who is enrolled in both the DCAA and the Adoption Advantage account.
And what is the contribution or election amounts for the HCSA and a date of reference or plan year reference?
The total annual HCSA election amount is $18,725,151 for plan year 2020 and $17,556,866 for plan year 2021.
Okay. And the same question for the dependent care advantage account, the contribution or election amounts and a date of reference or plan year reference.
The total annual DCAA election amount is $21,227,095 for plan year 2020 and $14,873,448 for plan year 2021.
Okay. And the same question for the adoption advantage account.
The total annual contribution to the adoption advantage account is approximately $18,000 for plan year 2020 and $16,000 for plan year 2021.
Great. And do you have varying eligibility rules for the reimbursement accounts by state agency, manual agency, and or union group?
The manual agencies follow the FSA plan rules set by GOER, which also applies to all state agencies. There are 2 bargaining units that have specific eligibility rules that would need to be applied.
Question 14, GOER provided the run rate of the 2021 claims, parens 23.4 million, being significantly off from 2019 and 2020 total claims. But in question and answer 10, GOER stated current employee enrollment is at 18,450, but that the current enrollment is below average.
The total annual enrollment for the FSA typically exceeds 20,000 participants. In A60, we indicated that in 2021, claims paid total 10,952,200 through June 21st, 2021.
What was the enrollment count for 2019 and 2020 by plan?
We'll provide you with the 2020 and 2021 enrollment information. For the Adoption Advantage account, there were 3 people enrolled in 2020 and 2 participants enrolled currently in 2021. For the HCSA, there were 13,858 participants enrolled in 2020 and 14,272 are currently enrolled for 2021. For the DCAA, there were 9,861 participants enrolled for 2020, and currently there are 6,592 participants enrolled for 2021.
Why was there a decrease in participation?
We believe that enrollment decreased due to COVID-19.
Does GOER expect it to increase, and why?
Yes, we would expect that post-COVID-19, there would be an increase in enrollment, and also due to collective bargaining agreements.
So that brings us to the end of the enrollment section. I just want to pause and see if anyone has any additional questions or wants further clarification about any question in this section. Okay. If not, let's move to the next section, payroll interface section 2.5. Question 1. Regarding section 1.4, the definition of customization describes, quote, more extensive modifications, such as a customized payroll interface and online enrollment system. Please describe what this entails for the current administrator. As a point of interest, what administrative functions should responders place particular focus on per GOER's preference?
The enrollment system must be customized as described in section 2.4 to import weekly eligibility files from OSC and the manual agencies and apply the data on the files to determine an employee's eligibility to enroll in the HCSA, DCAA, and adoption benefits. The eligibility information should also be used to calculate the DCAA employer contribution for each eligible employee. The enrollment data must be able to be exported such that the selected contractor can create and exchange the weekly payroll files as described in section 2.5 to start, change, or stop HCSA, DCAA, and adoption deductions, and to reconcile the deduction files received from OSC and the manual agencies with each participant account in its employer administration portal.
Yeah, and I'll pause there. That was a lot, just to see if anyone has any further questions on this. Okay. All right, move on.
Sorry, I do have one. Does the payroll file, does it need to show retro, if there's any kind of retro back, or is that something the payroll system can calculate?
Can you explain what you mean by retro back?
If someone had a life event, say 20 days ago, they get everything and updated, so the effective date is back 20 days. Does the payroll file need to show what needs to be made up in payroll, or just show this is the new deduction amount as of this date?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, the payroll file is, it's a forward. The selected contractor would need to calculate the new deductions going forward.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Megan?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Next question, regarding section 2.5.1. Please confirm that the state uses PeopleSoft/Oracle as its payroll system. Do the manual agencies use the same system, or do each of the four use unique systems? If they're different, please provide the names of the systems.
OSC is responsible for the state's payroll system, and the manual agencies each operate their own individual payroll systems. We don't have the names of those systems available to you, but the selector contractor will not interface directly with the 5 payroll systems. Rather, you would be responsible for exchanging the various payroll files that are described in section 2.5 and making sure that those files are in compliance with the file formats determined by OSC. Those file formats can be found in attachment 8 of the RFP for OSC file formats.
Great. And can the manual agencies receive electronic payroll deduction files?
Yes, they can accept electronic files.
Okay. Let's move along then to section 2.7, debit card implementation. The first question, there are 2 debit card processors that are available to be used, and both utilize offshore resources under a follow the sun model. How is GOER meeting this requirement today?
All help desk, online, and support services which access any data must be performed from within the continental United States. At no time will any follow the sun support be allowed to access the data directly or indirectly from outside the continental United States. Infrastructure support services that do not directly or indirectly access data may be provided in a follow the sun format if expressly outlined within the contract.
And regarding section 1.1, stated in the initial response, the use of the debit card is not currently an option for dependent care. Would the state consider including the debit card as an additional tool for accessing dependent care funds?
No, the New York State FSA plan only offers a debit card to help HCSA participants. GOER does not anticipate offering a DCAA debit card.
The next section is section 2.8, reimbursement. Please describe the key steps in your forfeiture instructions.
The forfeitures are returned to GOER after the runout period ends, and our runout period ends on March 31st of each year, and we apply it to the administrative costs of offering the FSA plan to our participants.
And what was the total amount of forfeited money for the last 2 plan years for the HCSAs, for the DCAAs, and the Adoption Advantage Account programs?
Forfeiture balances vary from year to year. Forfeitures are returned to GOER and applied to the administrative costs of offering the FSA plan.
Please provide data on claim volume and submission method per benefit account. In the last benefit year or year of reference available, please provide the number of and total dollar amount of HCSA claims via debit card, online/web, US mail, and by fax.
For the 2020 plan year, the FSA program paid $35,158,900 in claims. Approximately 75,000 HCSA claims were submitted, 30,300 DCAA claims were submitted, and 4 Adoption Advantage Account claims were submitted. GOER is not able to report on the method of submission.
In the last benefit plan or year of reference available, please provide the number of and total dollar amount of DCAA claims via online/web, US mail, and by fax.
GOER cannot report on the method of submission.
Question 5, in the last benefit plan or year of reference available, please provide the number of and total dollar amount of Adoption Advantage claims via online/web, US mail, and by fax.
GOER is unable to report on the method of submission.
Regarding sections 2.8.6, 2.8.7, 2.8.8, and 2.8.9, mailing of claim rejection, reimbursement check stub, quarterly statements, and balance notifications. On page 7 of the solicitation, the definition of mail includes electronic correspondence. Will New York State GOER allow email notification for these notices as well as other correspondence when an email is on file and is the preferred method of communication chosen by the participant?
GOER does not have a preference except where the RFP specifically indicates U.S. Postal Service. Section 2.8.8 of the RFP indicates that the selected contractor should provide participants with the option to receive quarterly statements electronically. Section 1.4 of the RFP indicates that the term mail shall include, but is not limited to, electronic transmission of correspondence and PDF documents, as well as mailings via the U.S. Postal Service.
Please provide current voucher and audit procedures followed today.
The voucher and audit procedures referenced in section 2.7.1 will depend on the bidder's pre-funding requirements. The current FSA administrator does not utilize a pre-funding model for the debit card.
Question 8. Please provide current account reconciliation procedures followed today.
In the event that the selected contractor proposes to use GOER's preferred banking model, access to the FSA key bank account will be provided, and GOER will work with the selected contractor to establish account reconciliation procedures.
Number 9 is a follow-up question to GOER response to bidders' questions. Question and answer 57 on page 11. GOER provided total claim payments. We request a breakout/breakdown of the total claims paid by each plan. For example, FSA, DC, and adoption, HCSA, DCAA, adoption, Advantage account, and COBRA for 2019 and 2021 through 6/21/21.
For the 2020 plan year, approximately 75,000 HSA claims were submitted, 30,300 DCAA claims were submitted, and 4 adoption Advantage account claims were submitted.
Question 10, with respect to check writes. In regards to section 2.2.4, is there a set time frame the contractor will receive wire transfer/check write requests from State of New York?
The purpose of this mandatory requirement is to require the selected contractors to pay participants' claims on a daily basis every business day. A wire transfer is synonymous with the term direct deposit for the purposes of paying claims. Currently, FSA participants have the choice to select direct deposit options or to have their claims reimbursements deposited to their checking or savings accounts. The current process is as follows. Participants submit claims to the FSA administrator. The FSA administrator processes and pays claims daily. Reimbursement is made by issuing a check or via direct deposit to the participant's designated bank account. Under the current contract, the state reimburses the FSA administrator daily after the claims have been paid.
Question 11, section 2, scope of work, section 2.2.4. What was the average number of check writes and wire transfers per participant for the last 2 plan years?
GOER is unable to report on the method of submission.
And question 12, does New York State fund the New York State Flex Spending Account via per pay period deductions or on a claims paid basis?
Under the current contract, the state reimburses the FSA administrator daily after the claims have been paid.
The next section is 2.13, communications and marketing. First question is regarding section 2.13.2. To help us understand potential costs, please outline GOER's expectations for print versus electronic production and distribution of materials developed in accordance with this requirement. Specifically, is the contractor responsible for distributing print materials to each of the 180 payroll offices and 260 work sites, or will any of that distribution be centralized and handled by the state?
Printed quantities are described in section 2.13.2, along with the requirement that the selected contractor will be responsible for distribution of marketing materials to state agencies. Each fall, prior to open enrollment, GOER will provide the selected contractor with a list of each state agency location and the printed quantities that are required to be sent to each of those locations. Section 2.13 requires bidders to describe their ability to accommodate the services contained in that section. Bidders are expected to propose solutions and demonstrate their ability to adjust GOER's needs, as described in section 2.13 of the RFP.
Is GOER open to reducing costs and environmental impact by transitioning to electronic editions of materials?
The printed quantities listed in section 2.13.2 have already been reduced to reflect the electronic distribution of enrollment materials to certain state agencies. The selected contractor is expected to describe their ability to provide this services in that section.
Question 3, is the contractor permitted to co-brand promotional items?
GOER does not allow co-branding of promotional items.
Question 4, please provide current branding standards that should be used for the FSA enrollment and administration portals.
GOER does not require the selected contractor to apply the state's branding guidelines to the FSA enrollment and administration portals.
Can the state elaborate on the marketing strategy used for the current plan year?
Under the terms of the current contract, GOER works with the current FSA administrator to develop an annual open enrollment communications campaign and timetable. Per section 2.13.1 of the RFP, it's the expectation of GOER that the selected contractor will partner with GOER to develop a creative marketing campaign to promote the FSA program in order to increase state employee participation.
Question 6, can the state provide information or appropriate communication channels to state employees for marketing the program to employees?
GOER does not directly distribute communications to FSA participants. As part of the annual open enrollment campaign, GOER sends enrollment-related information to all state human resources offices and asks them to inform their employees of the open enrollment deadline. GOER emails the contractor a copy of the open enrollment timetable each spring.
And question 7, what's considered appropriate in terms of communicating the program to state employees?
GOER will supply the selected contractor with the text to be used in the promotional materials and will require prior approval on the design and contents of all promotional material. In addition, per section 2.13.4, GOER will draft an annual re-enrollment reminder letter that the selected contractor will be responsible for mailing to current plan year participants.
Question 8, are there any restrictions in terms of communication?
During each year of the contract, GOER will instruct the selected contractor to distribute specific quantities of approved enrollment materials to state agencies. The selected contractor will not directly communicate with state employees to market the FSA program.
Question 9, what marketing has been effective versus what hasn't been?
In the past, employee information meetings held at state agencies' websites were ineffective due to poor attendance. GOER staff has attended union conventions and state agency benefit fairs with some success.
Question 10, with cost being a factor, what ways has the state helped develop its incumbent providers market the current HCSA, DCAA, Adoption Advantage account, and COBRA programs.
GOER disseminates information about the annual open enrollment period to the public employee unions, EAP offices, and daycare centers located at state work sites. GOER also communicates directly with the Directors of Human Resources and state agency health benefits administrators to request their assistance in informing their employees of the annual open enrollment period.
Great. Any other questions on this particular section?
Hi, Carolyn, this is John Riddick. I have some questions, maybe some previous sections.
Okay,
So,
go.
yeah, I think Lisa mentioned that the data had to be only accessible within the continental United States. Does that specifically exclude Hawaii, Alaska, and like Puerto Rico?
Are you asking us a geography question? Yes, it is. It's the continental United States. So we would rely on that as the definition.
Okay, and a couple more. So does the current administrator use the key bank process? And does that key bank process mean that the administrator, the vendor, actually fund that account before funds are received from GOER?
No, the current vendor does not use the key bank model for the current plan year. We rely on daily funding model where they reimburse claims and submit a daily funding report to us, and we reimburse them after the fact for the previous day's claims.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, John. Anyone else?
I had another, this is Lori Hewitt. I had another question. In reference to a question about the voucher process, the audit and voucher process, it said the response was that the answer depends on the administrator's model for pre-funding claims. However, in section 2.8.5, it states GOER will not pre-fund claims. So I was hoping you could clarify if you're open, to a model where claims are pre-funded.
Hi, Lori, this is Lisa. The answer to the question that you're referring was specific to the debit card section of the RFP, not to claims in general. And the intent of the RFP is to ask bidders to tell us if they do propose to do pre-funding for the debit card. And if they do, and they are selected as the contractor, then the appropriate audit processes would have to be put in place. Currently, the debit card that we use for the program does not have a pre-funding requirement. Therefore, we don't currently have an audit procedure because it's not needed.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Good. Anybody else before we move along? Okay. All right, let's move along to section 3.3, equal opportunity.
Just one quick question.
Sure.
With the current funding model, is KeyBank being used to transfer the daily reimbursement back to the current vendor for the previous or for that day's claims that were paid?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, section 3.3, equal employment opportunity requirements. This is a follow-up question to question and answer 220. The second sentence of the first paragraph of section 3.3 states, quote, the contractor is required to ensure that it and any subcontractors awarded a subcontract over $25,000 for the construction, demolition, replacement, major repair, renovation, planning, or design of real property and improvements, thereon referenced as the work, except where the work is for the beneficial use of the contractor, undertake or continue programs to ensure that minority group members and women are afforded equal employment opportunities without discrimination because of race, creed, color, national origin, sex, age, disability, or marital status, unquote. Question 1, please clarify whether or not the requirements of this paragraph apply with respect to subcontractors if such subcontractors are not being utilized or retained for the quote construction, demolition, replacement, major repair, renovation, planning, or design of real property and improvements thereon, end quote.
The first paragraph of section 3.3 applies to the contractor or subcontractor awarded a subcontract over over $25,000 for the construction, demolition, replacement, major repair, renovation, planning, or design of real property and improvements thereon, except where the work is for the beneficial use of the contractor.
Thank you. Our next section is non-discrimination. Is non-discrimination testing currently included as part of the FSA administration? And would a self-service non-discrimination testing tool meet the expectations of the state?
New York State conducts its own non-discrimination testing. Therefore, the selected contractor is not expected to conduct non-discrimination testing for the New York State FSA.
The next section is the standby letter of credit, or the SLOC. Question 1, regarding section 2.2.12, please expand further on the purpose of the SLOC.
The standby letter of credit, SLOC, serves to substantiate vendor responsibility and protect the state against financial loss. For example, due to a vendor's financial insolvency or misuse, theft of participants' deductions. In the history of the New York State FSA, the SLOC has never been drawn upon.
And question 2 references section 6.2. What does it mean when it refers to the state presenting a draft?
A draft is a negotiable instrument guaranteed by the issuing bank.
Question 3, would the state issue payments against these funds that the state would want the vendor to guarantee?
The amount the state would draw would depend on the amount of financial liability the state incurs in those scenarios.
And regarding sections 2.2, 4.2.5, and 5.1.2, is it acceptable to issue the letter of credit through a separate but affiliated bank company of our bank?
Section 6.2 requires a SLOC to be issued by a financial institution, but doesn't state it has to be the bidder's bank, just a financial institution.
And question 5, could the letter of credit be issued as an evergreen letter of credit with an automatic renewal clause and a final expiration date coinciding with the maturity date of the contract?
Or we'll provide a follow-up response to that question.
Yeah, we'll provide a follow-up response to that question and email it out. Thank you. Number 6, will all drawings under the letter of credit be made with a written draft at site?
That will be determined by GOER if and when it is needed.
Great. Let's move along to section 6.11, cancellation. With the large number of covered entities and based on industry standard, would GOER consider a written notice that is further in advance than 20 days, ideally 90 days? This would ensure that there are no gaps in compliance.
By submitting a proposal, bidders agree to the requirements and clauses contained in section 6.
Right, our next section is the mandatory contract termination provisions. The first question is, please clarify the first sentence of this provision to make clear what contractor is responsible for under this provision. And the first sentence of the provision states the contractor shall at all times during the contract term remain responsible.
Section 163C of the state finance law provides responsible or responsibility shall have the same meaning as such terms have been interpreted prior to the effective date of this article.
The courts in examining vendor responsibility have indicated that responsibility is an elastic word encompassing factors including financial ability to complete the contract, accountability, reliability, skill, sufficiency of capital resources, judgment, integrity, and moral worth. Whether a business entity is responsible is a question of fact to be determined on a case-by-case basis. And for more information, that information is available at OSC's website, which we can provide you with a copy of the Q&A after the bidders conference.
Very good, thank you. Next section is 6.25, conflict of interest. Please provide an example of the evidence expected under this requirement. Is a statement of no conflict of interest sufficient?
In the event that such a request is made, GOER will discuss the specific documentation required from the vendor, but such documentation will include, but not be limited to, a list of entities of the contractor or subcontractor and the type of work performed for such entities.
And section 6.30, accessibility of state agency web-based intranet and internet information and applications. Will New York State GOER accept certification of compliance issued by a third-party reviewer?
GOER will assist the selected contractor to comply with ITS policy NYS P08005.
Does GOER have a preferred testing software /tool/format for this?
GOER does not have a preferred software. GOER will assist the selected contractor to comply with ITS policy NYS P08005.
Section 6.41, secure data disposal. Would GOER consider a qualification inserted into this paragraph to distinguish only destruction of data which is administratively feasible and does not limit the contractor's continued proper management and fulfillment of legal obligations? Data security requirements would be extended to any retained data.
When data is requested by GOER to be destroyed pursuant to section 6.41, the provisions of section 6.41 will apply and no copies of the data may be maintained by the FSA administrator.
The next section is with respect to attachment 5, the GOER data security policy. Regarding requirements in sections 2 through 5, what are the expectations of the GOER's risk manager and information security officer regarding these requirements? Is this an annual review? What evidence or explanation does the contractor need to provide?
New York State security policy and standards follow the NIST 800 series standards. Design plans are reviewed to ensure security meets the standards. Recommendations are made and risks and benefits are presented to the agency. Additionally, there is an annual security review. The contractor will be required to provide systems, architectural designs, and any other requested information.
And regarding the information management section of that policy, what are the GOER editing procedures and process? What documentation must the contractor provide to GOER to meet this requirement?
This requirement refers to data integrity to ensure that data is processed against business rules and to ensure the data is maintained securely throughout that process. The contractor will be giving guidance on this process.
The next section is section 6.37, encryption. Regarding encryption, would the State of New York consider an alternate solution regarding key access, given the proprietary nature of the request?
Section 6.37 provides all data must be encrypted at all times unless specifically outlined otherwise in the contract. At a minimum, encryption must be carried out at the most current New York State encryption standard, NYS S14007, or successor policy, with key access restricted to GOER, unless with the express written permission of GOER. The contract shall specify the respective responsibilities of GOER and the contractor for the encryption of data.
Is this capability one that is currently in place?
This capability will be required for the term of the contract.
And then we had a few remaining questions. The first one, Given the volume of questions and introduction of a bidders conference, has there been any consideration given to extending the due date?
The due date will not be extended. Proposals are due no later than 4:00 p.m. Eastern Time on July 29th, 2021.
For proposal submission, could a flash drive, quote 4.5.2.1, be used in lieu of a CD?
Yes, bidders are required to submit proposals in hard copy and on a flash drive. Bidders should not submit proposals on a CD-ROM.
Is the contractor active in the discussions between GOER and the unions?
No, the contractor does not participate in discussions with the unions and communicates directly with GOER only.
Who is the incumbent provider for the state's adoption advantage account?
WageWorks Health Equity is the current FSA administrator.
So before I open up the floor, I do have a question that was sent to me. Could GOER identify the subcontractors being utilized under the current contract and describe the services provided under each subcontract? Who wants to take that question?
One subcontractor is Health Access, who provides the online enrollment system. There are also several subcontractors related to printing of materials, one of which was Panther Graphics, a New York State minority-owned business. I believe there's one other subcontractor. I don't recall the name of it off the top of my head.
And what services was the last subcontractor for?
Panther Graphics provided the printing and distribution of enrollment materials.
Okay. The floor is open for any other additional questions, or if you want to send one in to me privately. Before we end, did anybody join us after we had already taken attendance and you haven't let us know who you are for our attendance list?
Caroline, before we break, I just have a quick question. Current card processor, can you confirm who that is, if it's FIS or Fiserv or other?
I don't know the answer to that question.
We can put that on our list for follow-up, and if we can get that information out, get you an answer. Okay.
My name's John Bettendorf. I've got a follow-up question as well, and I had joined the call late. So do you need my company name is Wax?
Okay, thanks. Yep. And what's your question, John?
Question relates to the last one in regard to, I guess it's specifically though, in regard to section 6.35.4, the processing being required within the continental US. Is the current incumbent subject to that requirement as it pertains to all card processing activities?
Yes, that is a statewide mandate.
Okay.
I had one other question. If the bidder proposes to use GOER's preferred model and use the key bank account for daily check rates and direct deposits of participants' reimbursements, what is the source of the funding for that key bank account? Does the funding come from New York State / GOER? Will they put the funding in the bank account to make those reimbursements, or is the expectation that the administrator does that and then seeks reimbursement from GOER the next business day?
Hi, this is Lisa. The answer is under the previous contract, we did utilize the key bank account, And the way it worked, OSC, primarily OSC, also the manual agencies, participants' contributions from their paychecks and holds that money in an account that they have control of. And periodically, usually on a daily basis, they would look at the bank account and determine how much money needed to be transferred from the account they were holding the money in into our FSA specific key bank account. So the transfer of the money and the holding the money is managed completely by the Office of the State Controller. If you were to use the preferred model, the key bank account, we would follow a similar process that we have followed in the past. So ultimately, the reimbursements would come out of the key bank account. The money that would go into the key bank account would come from a state account managed by OSC. But again, ultimately, that money is the deductions taken from participants' paychecks.
Paycheck. Okay. Thank you.
I do have some questions in the chat box, and this one is to our contract specialists. So I have a question as to whether we're allowed to make a recording available or provide a transcript.
Yes, our plan is to post the recording and post the questions and answers that have been responded to.
Okay. And also a question about whether we can share the list of attendees.
I believe so. I will confirm that and post them or not and provide an explanation.
Okay. I have another question. Would GOER look at changing the funding on a weekly basis instead of daily?
And again, when you're saying funding, I'm assuming you're talking specifically in terms of the frequency of paying claims to participants. So the answer to that is no. Claims must be paid on a daily basis. That means not only processing the claims every day, but also making reimbursements to employees every day, whether it's by direct deposit or check or some other method.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, I don't have anything else in my chat box. I wanted to thank you all very much for attending. We do appreciate your interest in our RFP. And we will have a recording and transcript made available very soon. Brandy, do we have any idea how long that takes? Can we get that for tomorrow?
I don't think that's a problem. I will follow up with that.
Great. We're going to shoot for tomorrow. And I think there's a couple things that we owe you a response on, so we'll get those out too. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.